I want to sort of transition here because if beside the lockouts, besides the Olympics, I think it's also very fair to say whenever criticizing Gary Bettman, some of the cities that have NHL teams, the markets I should say, have been very questionable. It took a while for Nashville to start working, and there's an argument: is it still working? But I don't think there is a question about more of a team than the Arizona Coyotes, formerly the Phoenix Coyotes, Winnipeg Jets before that. So the city of Glendale has kicked them out. The Arizona Coyotes do not have a place to play for the 2022-2023 season. And apparently this is very much the door is closed. I was reading an article, and I for the life of me, I'm sorry, I couldn't find it today. It was this like city council vote a couple years ago to keep the Coyotes. And at the time, one of like this investment group wanted to bring them to Seattle. And the vote to keep the Coyotes won by a single vote, I think it was. I can't find it. I can't remember what site or who the author was.
I remember that.
But it was it.
You're not making that up. That definitely happened. I remember that.
So, and then all these years later, it doesn't look great here. Now, here's what's kind of awful about this. If anyone thinks the Coyotes are going anywhere, it's not happening. Besides ignoring Gary for a second, by the way. Alex Morello, the Morello Group, obviously there was that great article from Katie Strang earlier in the year talking about what it's exactly been like. Oh, sorry, something else I should have probably mentioned here. A big part about this is apparently the Coyotes owe some money to the arena, and there was a promise to start being on time with their payments, which did not happen, apparently. I'm going to read some excerpts from this Katie Strang article, a new one, in a second here. But the big problem is regarding in-arena gambling and some stuff to do with some groups in Vegas and in Arizona, the Morello Group aren't moving the team because they want that extra revenue. Not to mention, Gary Bettman's not going to move the team. He has been married to Arizona for so long now. And I don't think anyone really understands why, Will.
As someone who played 2 hockey tournaments in Phoenix, I swear to God, I'm not making that up. I went to the President's Day tournament 2 years in a row in Phoenix. It is very difficult to find a place where you feel hockey less than in Phoenix. Unless you were like literally in the rink, there was no presence at all. Like, it's not like you're walking down the street and you see someone wearing like a Coyotes hat. Like that, like, that never happened. Like that team did not exist there. Like it was bizarre. And I will push back on you for one thing, for the argument of them staying. I think they actually could leave. Mm-hmm. But they're not going to go to Quebec where they should go.
No, yeah, they'd
go to Houston. There's a lot of money in Texas. Houston has a ready-made arena. They actually have had success with an AHL team there. They actually had decent attendance numbers. There is some semblance of hockey there. With that, the Stars aren't a disaster, so there is some proof that Texas can support a team, and everyone always quietly mentions Houston, and they always come up when talk of new expansion teams and whatever. And so I wouldn't be shocked if they did move, but it would be to there. I don't think Kansas City's happening. I've never thought Kansas City was happening. The Sprint Center has been built for like a decade, and everyone always talks about how they have a new arena, and no one has any interest in going to Kansas City because it's already almost oversaturated with an MLS, MLB, and NFL team. So the idea that they would be able to support an NHL team when no one in Kansas cares at all about hockey is aggressive to me, and I think most people. So if they do move, I think Houston's the option. Yeah. The one saving grace and the one argument that Phoenix has always had, and will probably continue to have if they do move, and the legacy of that in place, is the rink is in a ridiculous location. The rink is like essentially like in Mississauga, It's so far. It's so far from Phoenix. Like it's actually crazy how far away Glendale is from Phoenix. It's in the middle of nowhere. So if they for somehow tried the let's throw them in the NBA arena, there's never been any issues with that. Shout out the Islanders. But we're actually downtown because the Suns arena is right downtown, then like maybe they'd have a shot. But let's be honest here, how many times do we have to keep trying this to find out that no one cares about hockey in Arizona?
Yeah. And by the way, to further support your Houston thing, there was a Forbes article I was reading from Kara Schramm, and in there she mentioned obviously Quebec is putting in like an application for expansion, and the Houston apparently before has put in a request for an NHL team.
Oh
and
yeah, Houston's like known that they want an NHL team. They're the one major city now that LA has an NFL team that doesn't have a team in every sport. Like Houston's a massive city, and like every other massive city in the U.S., Miami, LA, Chicago, New York, Seattle, soon maybe we'll see. All of them have Dallas. All of them have a team in the major four sports leagues except for Houston. They're like the one left now. So I think that's probably part of it. Is they feel like they can support it, and we'll see if it. I'm sure. Let's be honest here; it's going to happen eventually.
Yeah.
Why are we? They're gonna get a team. Yeah. Let's be real here.
And it's going to be Arizona. Like there's no other team.
Well, the either that or they'll expand.
It's Arizona makes sense if they move too, because it keeps them in the Central Division, which, I mean, they've been trying to balance out the divisions for so long now. What's kind of interesting about this as well is, let me just try and quickly find it. So
that was the other thing I forgot to mention is why Houston makes sense is they could just they could literally stay in the same division. And that's like the main argument. The only real argument against Quebec is no one knows what the heck they would do with the divisions, because Columbus and Detroit effectively sold their souls to get in the Eastern Conference. And if they had to force one of them back, that'd be a hilarious situation. So that's probably the biggest and best argument Houston has, is you don't have to realign the league again.
Mm-hmm. And apparently Arizona are looking towards maybe going to Tempe. However, apparently somebody sent an article, and it was the Katie Strang article, to a member of the Tempe Council. This would have been Laura Kuby, is who got it. And apparently the reception to that was, well, thank you for this information. So
putting it in Tempe would be like saying, hey, Mississauga didn't work, let's put it in Richmond Hill. It's like, okay, we're not doing anything different. It's the exact same thing.
I'm pretty sure Richmond Hill would do better than Phoenix.
I know,
I'm sure.
But what I'm saying is like the argument in Phoenix has always been like, hey, if you give us like a downtown location, like we'll be better. It's like Tempe is also a suburb of Phoenix.
I'm pretty sure it's an ASU.
Yeah, that's where ASU is.
Right. So I bet ASU would have better attendance than the Coyotes. Like it's ridiculous. No one cares. The
hole in their argument has always been with the Glendale thing is it's literally on the same property of land that the Cardinal Stadium is in, and the Cardinals do not struggle to draw audiences. So I've always been curious with the, hey, we can't draw people here because of our location, even though we're 25 feet from the NFL team that brings 70,000 people here eight times a year. Like, if people cared, they would show up, man. Like, I hate to break it to you guys. Like, that's why it doesn't work.
Mm-hmm. And they just keep rolling in new owners. And like, yeah, this one we'll try. Let's try this. And it just doesn't work. I don't know any other sports team who has this much just stupidity with their ownership. Like, just time and time and time.
The Rays.
Again. The Rays. Okay,
the Rays.
And the Sens, but like Sens, it's the same guy.
Yeah.
It's like I guess like Will would understand this, but because I know the Sacramento Kings make pretty stupid moves as well, but like they at least have a fan base, right?
That's the biggest difference is the Kings have like actually diehard fans. Like no, like who's it? Like have you ever met a Coyotes fan? Like
No,
No.
no.
no one's a Coyotes fan. Like the Kings actually have a real fan base. That's part of like the crazy thing about the Kings and why they can't get it to work is like their arena was notorious for being one of the loudest in the league when they were good. Like it's not like Arizona where they're in the playoffs and the conference finals against Chicago and it's $20 to get in. Like
I remember I not even like before they had made the playoffs, I had seen people in Ontario with Vegas gear before and to this day, like you joke about not seeing anyone with a Coyotes hat in Arizona. No, not in Ontario either.
well, that's why Houston's going to get a team because the expansion thing works. Like for whatever reason, people like expansion teams. Who knows why?
Mm-hmm.
Like I've already seen a bunch of people who are like, "Yo, I'm a Kraken fan."
Yo, those jerseys are so clean though.
I know, but like, no, I guarantee when the Jets moved to Phoenix, no one was like, I'm a Coyotes fan now. Like it's weird. People like expansion teams.
By the way, I know we say this every once in a while. Give the Jets their records back, please. You don't like go away. Lonnie doesn't have the.
That's the dumbest thing. Like the Oklahoma City relocated from Seattle in the NBA, and they still have Gary Payton's jersey retired in OKC. It's like and they have the banner. And it's like, what the hell is this? You guys did not win. It's so dumb.
Mm-hmm.
It's so weird. I don't know why they do that. Like, it's dumb, man. I feel it's wild to me that Quebec City doesn't have a team. I don't know if you guys want to talk about this now, but the Quebec City thing is just it's mind blowing to me. They literally have done everything right, and the NHL is still like, does any other American city want a team? Like, does literally anybody else want one? It's like Seattle's like, I guess, and they're like, cool. Have fun, Seattle. We'll give you an NHL team. And Quebec City's like, our rink's better, and we have a guaranteed fan base. And they're like, but an American team said it, and it's like, who?
Because Gary Bettman hates Canada.
So this TikToker, the same guy said I had the good take about the Olympics. He said they shouldn't move to Quebec City because Quebec City already failed, and it was like Atlanta failed. They got another team. Denver failed. Does anyone remember the Rockies? Like that team, that team had a nasty jersey. The pre-New Jersey Colorado franchise. Look up their jersey. They got another team. Like you can go California got another team. Like the Golden Seals played in Northern California. Guess where San Jose plays? Northern California. Like Winnipeg got a team back, got their team back. It's going great. Like it's so stupid. The argument that Quebec City had a team and it didn't work. Like the reason it didn't work is because the Canadian economy was a complete disaster in the 90s and that every team in Canada almost left except for the Leafs and Habs. Like it was a complete nightmare. And that's why Winnipeg and Quebec City left. That's the only reason. They couldn't afford it. It had nothing to do. And now Winnipeg has their team back and it's going great. It makes no sense to me, that.
Not to mention Batman doesn't have a lot of hair to begin with, but like it was like hair pullingly frustrating for him to go back to Winnipeg. But what helps with Winnipeg at least is their ownership group is something like the top 50 richest in the world or something. It's like that's what Quebec City seems to need just for Bettman to go there. And it's ridiculous. Like if you can get Shakir ownership there. But again, it goes back to but you just keep giving Arizona a chance when it's just I don't get it, especially with just how rich hockey is in Quebec too. It doesn't make any sense that you wouldn't go back there. I
saw someone argue that you can't give Quebec a team because it would impact the Habs fan base, and the Habs wouldn't want it. I was like, "Are you on Quebec City? Quebec City hates Montreal, man? Like they
the
want
whole Quebec does.
Yeah, they want their own team, man. You don't know anything about Quebec. Like you have an instant rivalry that would be one of the best in the league that a lot of people don't know about. Like that, it's wild. And I brought it up on my Twitter thread. the MLB has basically straight up said to the city of Montreal, if you guys build a stadium, we will give you an MLB team. Like, we will do it. And the city of Montreal is like, nah, man, give us the team first and then we'll build the stadium. And they're like, no, build it first. And Seattle is the same way in the NBA. They're like, if you build an arena, we will give you a team. And Seattle's always been like, no, give us a team and we'll build the arena. Quebec City built the arena. They have a 19,000 seat beautiful arena. It's literally what it would be immediately one of the 10 nicest arenas in the NHL the day they opened. And still nothing. Like, it's crazy. They did everything right, and even still, when expansion comes up, there's never anyone being like, you know, it'd be a good idea, let's go to Quebec. Like, no one ever. It's wild. I don't understand it at all.
I think it's what the Ramparts play there right now.
Yeah, that's who played there. There's a Q team, and they get like 15,000 a night because there's nothing to do in Quebec City in the winter, obviously, because they need an NHL team. It's ridiculous. They don't even have a CFL team. Like, it's so, like, there's nothing to do there. Like,
I don't see how the NHL watches what just unfolded with the Canadian division in terms of like the engagement numbers, like Sportsnet, and I think we brought it up on the show too, when Sportsnet and TSN released their numbers about the Canadian division, like, it was just ridiculous amounts more than what it would be on a previous year. But there's still this obsession with growing in the US. Like, you got your TV deal. Like, this is what we were waiting for. You got your TV deal. Like, it's so annoying. It's like, you know where it works and you refuse to do it.
well, the problem with Gary has always been and will always be, he cares more about growing the league than the sport. And which is why he consistently makes so many short-sighted decisions. Like, the best example that I would use to explain that is, like, why does the WNBA exist? They don't make money. Like, they're starting to do better now, but for years they made no money. Like, from a business sense, there was no reason for them to exist. But they existed because David Stern wanted to grow the game of basketball and saw in the long-term future, if he got more women wanting to play basketball to play in the WNBA, they'd become NBA fans and they would make more money. But the NHL, they do everything short-sighted. They're like, let's put an NHL team in this city so we can expand our TV deal. Let's put one here so we can. And it's like, do they do any market research on any of these teams working? Like, you can make a strong case that they're like other than like, it's going okay, I guess, in Tampa, but that's only because they're really good. Like, like Florida's a disaster. Carolina is hit and miss, depending on if they're good or not. Same with Nashville. Dallas,
that's like half the teams in the US.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like the only team in the South that like consistently draws well has been San Jose for some reason. For what? Maybe that's because
done pretty well.
What's that?
I'd argue Minnesota's done pretty well too.
Well, Minnesota's that's a hockey market.
Ye old Anaheim. Why did I say Anaheim? I was about to do a Mighty Ducks joke, but I completely bombed it. I'm sorry.
Anaheim is exactly like Tampa, where they look like it's going well, but it's only looks like it's going well when they're good. And the best example of that was I remember the Flames played the Flames played the Ducks in the second round in 2015. It was the year after they beat Vancouver. And it was the year they beat Vancouver in the first round. I think it was 2015. It was Gaudreau's rookie year. And it was cheaper to fly to Anaheim, go to the game in Anaheim, and fly back than it was to go to the game in Calgary, because it was like $30 to go to the second round playoff game. Like, no, there's a strong case that they're over unless the teams are good, because it's not like they're selling out. Even LA does okay, but like, I don't know. Like, how many people are actually Kings fans? Like,
when I went to LA, they were playing the Leafs. The section I was in, when I went, all Leaf fans.
Yeah,
all Leaf fans.
But to be fair, that happens with most of the Canadian teams. But like, yeah, the
Yeah.
Kings are if you watch a Kings game, you notice that from like 2012, 2014, it's obviously a lot emptier in that arena now. I wonder why.
Well, the one that I'm really interested to see is Vegas, because Vegas has
Yeah.
obviously worked so far, and that's why they expanded again because Vegas worked. But the thing about Vegas and why it worked, a lot of it is because A, they were good right away, and B, there was no real competition in the city. Like they were the
Yeah.
first real pro sports team there other than the WNBA. And so but like as it goes, it's very clear that the MLB is going to put a team in Vegas in the next 5 years. And the NBA is probably going to put a team in Vegas in the next 10 years. Like it's coming because Vegas prints money. And as you mentioned, as the gambling industry increases, the NBA is very in on gambling right now. There's going to be a team there pretty soon. And I'm very curious to see what happens when this undersaturated market finally got a team they could hold on to in the Golden Knights. What will happen if sports that are infinitely more popular there come? Like if an NBA team shows up, basketball's huge in Nevada. If like even with the Raiders, how much is that going to impact them? I'm really curious to see because that's been the rub in most of these other cities, is that for whatever reason people just haven't gravitated to hockey in the way that they thought they would, and yet we keep trying this over and over again, man. It's wild. Like Alex, you mentioned, it's wild. Like they do not, for whatever reason, ever accept when they're wrong.
By the way, that point I think you said it was Gary more focused on growing the league than the game. I've never heard him described quite as well as that, and is accurate.
Very spot on.
So well done.
I still don't think he likes hockey.
Baseball executive first.
Basketball.
Basketball.
I'd be really curious to know how much he's properly grown the league in terms of team valuations if you take into account inflation.
And the natural growth of the other leagues.
Right. Like
how much he actually did.
Like I think we sometimes forget that one of Gary's first priorities is the owners. Like he essentially works for the owners. If you kind of break it down a little.
It's not essentially, it's his entire job.
Like that's his job. Right. Like it's his job. And you look at how he's like, NHL owners are clearly very cheap and have only interest in the league, but they're not even growing it. Like, sure. Yeah, great. We have 32 teams now. Can this league properly support 32 teams? I don't think so. Like, I really don't.
Well, the dirty secret is NHL teams don't actually make that much money.
Oh yeah. Like it's ridiculous.
I'll never forget the Hockey News ran basically the new Tampa owners who took over in like 2011, 12-ish. Like they were new. It was right before they got good when they were in the rebuild. Like Stamkos was really young. And they let the Hockey News do like an exclusive look at the franchise. And they just straight up admit like, yeah, we make no money. Like we actually take a loss every year. The only reason we do this is because we want to own a pro sports team. Like that's literally why we do it. We're not doing this to make money because we don't. And it was like eye-opening because you've always been told that these pro sports teams print money. And when you grow up in a Canadian city and like look at the NHL teams, it's the Leafs print money, obviously. But these American teams in these, especially in these smaller markets like Tampa, like they don't make money. That Tampa might be in the green now that they're good and they sell a decent amount of merch. But if those teams aren't really good, then they lose money every year.
There was the report, I think that Forbes does every year, where they do the franchise values. So in the 2019 one, 8 NHL teams were losing money, and one of them was Canadian, and that was Winnipeg. The rest of them were American. The Islanders, who went to the conference finals, were losing money.
Yeah, the Islanders notoriously don't make any money. Part of that is because it's really, really hard to make money in pro sports when your arena sucks
Yeah.
because you have to spend extra money funding it, and you get less press boxes. You get less seats that companies can buy that are immediate major dollars. Like it's really difficult. That's why these teams work so hard to get new arenas, because it's really difficult when your arena sucks to make money.
Mhm.
Again, another reason why Quebec City should have a team. And the Islanders, because of NASA, have like our entire lives lost money. Like like every year, it's crazy. Like you would think that a team in New York would print money, but they do. They've been in rough shape. Same with New Jersey. They don't do that well. The only American teams that legitimately do really well, Detroit has always done well. Chicago does really well.
I think Boston's always been in the top. Yeah.
Boston does, and the Rangers are ridiculous. Do really, really well. Philly usually does well. Notice how they're all in the north.
Yeah.
None of them are the Sun Belt teams. I wonder why. But yeah,
Like Gary must be loving that Tampa repeated. He
Oh,
must have the
yeah,
biggest grin on
loves
his
it.
face.
he was fired. He was fired up watching Tampa.
He wanted to join the celebrations. That's how excited he was.
He gets a special joy, especially when they take down a Canadian team.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like in '04, he was probably just fired up. He's like, that's probably why the lockout happened, because he was probably celebrating for a month and he forgot to negotiate. One of my Sunbelt teams did it. Let's go. They all said I was wrong.
It only took 15 years. Oh man.
We did it. Let's go, Gary. Gary, the contract ran out with the Players Association. Yeah, but Tampa won the Cup, man. Let's go. Well, who cares? Who cares about the Players Association? Yeah, like seriously, like I would not even be surprised if he was just watching the games, like full on cheering for the American teams. Like, let's be real here. Why wouldn't he? All their money is in the American TV deal. They make money in Canada regardless. Like he doesn't care how Canada does. Like they don't care. Like you're mentioning, like they don't care about the Canadian TV ratings.
No. Oh, clearly not.
Like why would they care? They're always good. And when the TV deal runs out, Rogers and Bell are gonna fight for it again, and it's gonna be way more money than it should be, because they're both gonna keep offering way too much.
And then they're both going to cut half their staff. Like it's just
Alex, no,
what's just gonna
Alex,
happen?
no.
Like that's already what happened the first time. Like so, we're just going to see it again
Yeah, except Bell's probably gonna win this one because
they
Bell-
already cut half their staff, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
So
Alex.
it's just the reality. And they had record high profits. Shout out to them.
Yeah, shout out to Bell for having it for killing it during the pandemic and then firing 1,000 people on the day of Bell Let's Talk.
I think
What
we
a
need to
joke.
we need to cut this part out. I think we gotta cut this part out. Anyway, God, if Mike was here right now, I don't even want to know where this could go.